Greetings. My name is Will Moss. I'm the CEO of HBCU Connect. And this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're tuned in from, we are presenting opportunities with Truist. So this is a special event where the folks at Truist have put together a great team to share their experiences, to share their opportunities, and allow you the chance to engage. So I highly encourage you to engage in the chat. As you all can see, lots of our candidates are dropping their name, where they're from, their HBCU they may represent, or the college they may represent. And then also we encourage you to drop a link to your LinkedIn profile in the chat. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and jump into the event. Again, my name is Will Moss. I'm the CEO of HBCU Connect. These events are specifically designed as diversity events where we've partnered with Truist. Truist has put forth the effort to put together their opportunities that are available to share with you all so that you all can take advantage of the opportunities. And even better, they've put together some team members that in this case are all Black team members, many of which are HBCU graduates, to come and share their experiences as they're leading up to Truist. And then once they've joined Truist, what they do at the company, and then of course, what the opportunities are. So we're gonna have a really great evening and agenda that we've set forth that I'll go over next. But I wanted you all to know that these opportunities are real. So, Truist is a company that we've been partnered with now for several years. This is actually our second virtual recruitment event. And the hope is that you all attend this event, you learn more about Truist, you learn more about the culture, you get to meet some of the team members, and then relate to some of the team members so that you can see yourself potentially working at Truist, either in an internship in the future or a job after graduation. So this event is open, of course, to HBCU students, HBCU grads, even non-HBCU students and grads as well, but folks that are looking for opportunities with Truist. So we're super excited to have you all. The opportunities here are real, so you'll really want to pay attention, and especially once we get to the part where we talk about next steps, so you know how to land an interview for a potential internship or job, full-time job with Truist. All right, so with that being said, let's jump through and run through the agenda real quick so you all know what to expect. We're going to do a quick welcome and introduction from our speaker at Truist, who I'll introduce shortly. Then we'll have a panel discussion. So I'm going to introduce each panelist so you all have some context on who they are. And then you all can start gathering and putting together questions that you might want to ask the panelists, because you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions as well. So we'll have a moderated live Q&A at the end. But first, we'll have a panel discussion. We have some questions prepared that we think will be interesting for you all to learn more about Truist, to learn more about the culture and the people and the opportunities at Truist. Then after that panel discussion, we're going to jump right into those career opportunities at Truist. We have 3 team members that are not only going to introduce themselves, but they're going to introduce the specific opportunities we want you all to take advantage of. And then we're going to allow you all the opportunity to ask questions in a live Q&A. So I want you all to really engage because we've set aside some time to do that. So as questions come up, feel free to drop them in the chat. But if they don't get answered in the chat, once we get to the live Q&A, please drop those questions so that I can ask those questions to our panelists and the team at Truist. All right. So that's what we're going to do today. And then we're going to talk about those next steps at the end. All right. So I wanted you all to see a quick snapshot of who we have here from Truist. So these are the first set of set of speakers that we have. We have Twan Mills, who's the Wealth Regional Managing Director. We have Alana Barber, who's a University Recruiter. We have Carice Hunt, who's a Senior Talent Acquisition Diversity Sourcer. We have Katina Miller, who's a Senior Talent Acquisition Recruiter. So you all, this is your opportunity to network as well. So you all might want to take a snapshot of this so you know who to reach out to, on LinkedIn and network as well after the event. And then also, those aren't the only speakers. We have our panelists. We have Asani McHoney, who's head of risk, finance, and ESG data analytics and office. So I'm sure Hassani will go into what all that means and what he does. Lachey Reeves, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Business Administration and Risk. We have Brian Morgan, Head of Foreign Exchange Payments and Delivery. And we have Court Asante, who is Innovation Strategy Analyst. So these are the folks that you're going to meet. We're going to hear from all of them. And like I said, I'm super excited on your behalf. So Let's jump right into it. I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is Tawan Mills, Senior Vice President, Truist Wealth, North and Central Florida Regional Managing Director. And also, Tawan is an HBCU graduate from WSSU, Winston-Salem State. So Tawan, if you're ready.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. First, I want to recognize my esteemed colleagues. Team, this is a beautiful moment. It's not often we get a chance to be amongst friends and frankly share with you things we're passionate about and get the opportunity to tell you about an organization that I hold incredibly dear to my heart, and I know my teammates do as well. As Will said, my name is Tawan Mills. I'm the Senior Vice President in North and Central Florida Regional Managing Director. Today, my role, I participate and help to support a team of wealth specialists and teammates, ranging from advisors to financial brokers to investment strategists, financial planning teammates, you name it. How do we wrap our arms around wealthy families? I help to support those needs for North and Central Florida. My team manages a national practice. They're on a plane quite often, but they're all physically located. They sleep at night in North and Central Florida. And it's been an absolutely amazing journey getting to this point. So you get a chance, please ping me on LinkedIn. I'll throw that in the chat here when we're done. I'm going to try to keep this as loose and hopefully conversational as possible. I want to leave you with some things to think about. Clearly, do the commercial for Truist, right? Tell you why I've chosen Truist, and I'm assuming my teammates as well. But really excited about and really thank you all for the opportunity to spend some time with you. So enough for my picture. By the way, I need to update. I got a little more grays in this beard now too. I put a couple of, I think that was a pre-COVID photo. Well, let's jump into who is Truist a little, if that's okay. Truist was established when the merger between SunTrust Bank and BB&T in February 2022. We're currently the 7th largest bank in the U.S. with over $66 billion in assets, over 2,100 branches within 17 states and the District of Columbia. And so those 21 branches are primarily in the east of the U.S. The U.S. down to Texas as well and Florida, but we also have some operations in a lot of other types of businesses. Typically, folks think about banks, about retail operations. What you'll learn today from many of my teammates, if you look across the broad spectrum of roles that are represented here, way more than checks and deposits and loans and mortgages. For example, you'll get a chance to learn a lot about some of the other roles that are being played by my teammates. I was in a call today, and Will, you'll like this. I was on a call today with our Chief Investment Officer, one-on-one, got an opportunity to spend some time with her. Her name is Oscar Lynn Elder. And I told her what I was doing this evening. She says, I've got an email in my inbox right now for HBCU Connect. And so it couldn't be more meaningful of our relationship with our HBCUs because I'm a product of HBCUs. So I'll talk a little bit about, well, if you want to go back, you can go back to my slide for a minute. I'll talk a little personal for a moment. Oscar Lynn reminded me during our time together, Tawan, don't forget to talk about who you are as a person, because in trying to tell your story and your why, people want to know your background. So I'm originally from Long Island, New York. I spent most of my formidable years in North Carolina, as Will shared, and as you see on the screen, I'm a Winston-Salem State alumni. I started my career in banking, frankly, in my sophomore year in college with Decision One Mortgage in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing more IT services. But I realized pretty quickly I enjoyed working with people. So I quickly changed my major when I got back after my freshman summer. I went into more business administration and marketing, as you can see, and then really realized I wanted to go into banking. At the time, Winston-Salem was more or less the banking mecca of the South until really Charlotte took hold. So there was a lot of opportunity for internships and engagement with local bank executives. And I learned really quickly, I had a passion for helping people. I knew very early in life that I loved working with money, but more importantly, I love helping people. So ultimately, my pathway through Winston-Salem State was a successful one. I was laser focused on finding a great opportunity for employment post-graduation, secured, frankly, my job in my junior summer when I internship with Wachovia Bank in Winston-Salem and worked my entire senior year on some transactional work with them with the merger of SouthTrust, an organization that they were absorbing or purchasing. So fast forward some years later, I started working for BB&T in our leadership development program, which you'll get an opportunity to learn a little bit about. And that's when I switched and transitioned from corporate investment banking to our wealth management space. And I tell you, I've found my passion. And we'll talk a lot about today around passion and values and mission. And so I'll get to that as we talk about Truist a little bit. I'd be remiss and wouldn't be surprised if my 4-year-old or my 13-year-old jump in here really quickly. So I'll tell you about them in case they disturb us. Been married for 16 years, met my wife Elise at Winston-Salem State University, and we have a 13-year-old Tawan Jr., so there's two of us. and Tatum. She's 4. So, well, let's jump into mission for a moment. I'll tell you a little story about myself, because as you begin to think about your career and thinking about what organizations you want to align yourself with, it is vitally important that you align yourself with an organization that mirrors your values. Culture means a lot at our organization. And so I'd like to start with kind of sharing with you our mission statement: to inspire and build better lives and communities. And if you've had a chance to look a little about my bio previously, you see I've aligned myself, even outside of Truist, with organizations that speak to the Black diaspora. So the 100 Black Men of Greater Orlando, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Hopefully I got some bros in the audience and other members of the Divine Nine. And it's really important for me to make sure I'm helping to build the next generation of Black leaders as well as Black business owners. And so for me, I think about some of the highlights of Truist, and I think about the things we've invested into our community, my community. So I'd like to rattle those off for a moment, if that's okay, to further sell you on why you should be considering working for Truist. So we recently have established some connectivity through a very large investment with Ariel Investments Project Black, which is a $1.4 billion commitment to seek investment in middle market Black and Latino owned businesses that value between $100 million and $1 billion in revenue. Locally here, just for me in Central Florida, I think I saw at least one person in Orlando, some Miami folks as well. We made a large investment locally of $2 million into the Black Business Investment Fund, which is an opportunity to provide capital to Black businesses in and around Central Florida, as well, I think nationally as well. They're just located here in Orlando. And last but not least, of course, one of the major investments we made in the last several years is a $20 million investment in Operation Hope. That is really designed to establish over 1 million Black businesses by 2030. And not only do we make the commitment financially, we've actually now placed over, I think it's over 150 Operation Hope employees within our retail banking network to serve as another addition to helping our people find financial freedom. And so I couldn't be more happy to be able to share with you some of the things we've done within our community. More importantly, we've been recognized for our diversity work. We've been recognized for being a great place to work. Forbes, for 2023, we're the Forbes Best Employer for Diversity. Newsweek for 2023, America's Greatest Companies for Diversity. And we have a 100% score on Human Rights Campaign for Corporate Equality Index. So again, I couldn't be more excited about working at an organization like Truist. It aligns back to my values. And I want to leave you, Will, I'm hoping we're going to have a little exchange and take some questions from the audience. Before I move to that point, I want to share with you a quote. I've had the opportunity to work with some really amazing people here in my time with Truist. And I'm going to leave a quote by my good friend and even more amazing leader at Truist. She's actually our Chief Teammate Officer and Head of Enterprise Diversity, Head of HR, Kimberly Moore Wright. Kimberly simply put it, at Truist, diversity of culture, thought, and perspectives help guide us in our purpose. Our commitment is intentional, built around integral objectives to hold us accountable, to help us impact inside and outside of our walls. To me, that means a lot. She's setting the mood for who we are as an organization, the teammates we want to add to the organization, and how we move forward as an organization. So I wish Kimberly was on the line. She would also love to spend some time with you all as well, but I'm happy to be able to have her here virtually through some of her thoughts. A couple of final things. I jumped from personal, talked a little more on Truist. I want to end on a little bit of personal, talking around my journey a little bit and more some keys to success. And so after my time in the marketplace, joining Truist, I've been with the organization now since 2009, so 14 years, and I've probably had as many roles within the bank since the time I've been there. So whether it was operating as a branch manager in Alpharetta, Georgia, raise your hand, Atlanta, anybody out there, working in our call center for wealth clients in Charlotte, North Carolina. In my most recent role today, where I manage one of the largest wealth teams in the entire bank footprint of over 40 to 50 plus employees that help to assist our wealth families. When I think about all those roles, and I'll tell you about these keys to success and tell you how those things happened, there are really three things that I would promise you played an incredibly vital role to the experience that I've had. And so if there's a chance for pen and pad, please feel free to write these down. At some point, I'm gonna trademark them and and write a book and hopefully turn it into more financial freedom, right? So first one is building networks and identifying mentors. And so when I talk about building networks, it's vitally important you build networks of people that look like you build separate networks of people that don't look like you, And then you build networks of people you want to look like. Who do you want to be in the future? Who has the role, the opportunity to help you grow your networks? And so and the last part of that networking piece is, how do you become a connector? How do you bring all those individuals together to add value to their lives? How do you borrow people's relationship equity to establish your own relationships with people? And so think about that as you're thinking about your networks and your career. To me, networking has been a vital piece to my success. The second part of that is, and I was thinking about closing on this, but we'll make it second, is I think the last one, you need to be able to do this, and do the last one, is perform at a high level. You got to perform. Nothing trumps performance. So if you're performing at a high level and then volunteering for everything, so you get the opportunity to learn, trust you me, success will happen. And once you've done those things of building networks and identifying mentors and performing, then you have to learn how to self-advocate for your success in your career path. And I'll tell you how that's happened for me. The 14 years I've been here, I think I've applied one time for roles, and it was to get to Truist. And the one thing I found, and it may not be traditional, finding the right mentors, performing at an incredibly high level, advocating for what I wanted out of my career, opportunities presented themselves. And might not always be the case, but if you follow those three things, I promise you, you'll have success. I'll close with the fact that I am just excited. I'm excited about being able to share a little bit about myself. I'm even more excited about sharing a little about Truist, and potentially more excited about the prospects about you joining Team Truist. So, Will, thank you for the time. I'm looking forward to any questions the audience may have. And Will, I think you might have a handful you want to ask as well.
Yeah, so I think the main question I like to ask, I like to be able to relate to different folks' background. And so you're an HBCU graduate,
Yep.
Winston-Salem. So how do you feel that your experience at an HBCU prepared you for your career at Truist?
Wow. So I was really intentional during my time at Winston-Salem State University, and whether it was the people I chose to spend time with, the internships that I was intentional about going after. Candidly, when I first took my first role with Wachovia out of college, I was laid off. It was an unfortunate time in my career, but I actually went back to Winston-Salem State to make the connection to what was then BB&T, which is now Truist. And so I'm a strong proponent in making sure that you're 100% engaging with your career specialist within your university for university recruiting. Shout out to our university recruiter on the line today. You're going to learn a little more about that role here at Truist as well. But for me, creating an environment for success early in college, and then leveraging every opportunity for networking was big for me to start my career and jumpstart it pretty quickly.
Awesome. And what is it that you like most about working at Truist?
I have to say the people. I've made some of lifelong friends. And so I've lived in probably 4 locations over my career with Truist. Orlando's probably the longest now, with over almost 9 years here. And I have friends for life. And so we've got amazing mentors. I was lucky. I was a wealth advisor in the hometown of the bank. And so a lot of folks within our organization and now executives were at one point clients and friends. And we had things like men at the lunch table. Well, guys that look like me had direct access to the up and coming next executive that look like us. And so it was really cool to be able to establish great relationships and friendships. And these are folks that we're Facebook friends now. We've had kids together. We've cried together. We've lost families, and we've lost family members and consoled each other at times. It really has become a place where we're really invested in each other's success. And more importantly, we're friends outside of work as well.
Awesome. So Tawan, let me thank you for being our speaker. If you have time to hang on and answer some questions in the chat to our candidates, I'd like to encourage you to ask any questions you might have directly for Tawan, but go ahead and ask them in the chat. And then that way we can keep moving with our program. So Tawan, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so up next, we're going to introduce our panelists so that we can jump into our panel discussion and kind of keep the show on the road. So our first panelist is Lachey Reeves, Senior Vice President, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Business Administration and Risk at Truist. So Lachey, if you're ready.
Hello, everyone. So, first of all, how can I go after that? But I will say that we do share Central Florida, Orlando in common, and also Echo. Just super excited to be here. I wish I really had this conversation when I started out. So, I am a FAMU grad, graduated in 2007. Also had an opportunity to enter into the leadership development program at a different competitor. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I knew what I did not want to do. I was like, listen, I need my weekends off. I don't want to work nights. I don't want to work overnight. I want to dress up. I want to talk to people. I like numbers. I'm good with that. Show me what we got. And so through that atmosphere, that literally was one of the reasons that led me to the banking industry. And so with that, I had an opportunity to start out, like I've mentioned, in the leadership development program. Started out on the retail side, then realized, although this is fun, I want to do something more exciting. Had an opportunity to go into investments with Charles Schwab, where I managed $3 billion, had my series and all of that. And I realized this pivotal point for me. It was not fun helping rich people stay rich. So I looked around and I saw I am the only person of color, the only person under 50, and the only African American on the team. So I was like, you know what? I want to help people who look like me, who have a similar background as me, to come in this industry because it's so lucrative. It's so many things that you do not imagine, what you can see. And so from there, that's really how I embarked on my career in talent acquisition, which led me to DEI. So when people see my role, they're like, okay, so what do you do? So as the Senior Vice President, Director of DEI, Business Administration and Risk, so I do the side of DEI that most people don't think about, right? So when they think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, they think about the programs and, visiting college campuses, the fun stuff. But me, I'm the regulatory person. I'm in charge of governance. So we think of our policies, our procedures, holding Truist accountable when we say that we're going to do this for DEI or our HBCU initiative. But then also when we think about from the federal regulator perspective. So, we have a couple of regulations that do impact DEI, or it does require the DEI team partnering with our executive council, executive leadership team, and making sure what we put out there is true and accurate and is verified. So that's pretty much my role. I also do just want to get personal because when we talk about truth, when we talk about care, this is the first company that I've worked for, and I just hit my year mark where I can truly be myself. So I am from South Florida. Whatever you may think about South Florida, it may be true of me as a person, a little unpolished at times. And so with that, just had a very colorful life. Being homeless, both my parents died, they were on drugs. My freshman year of college at FAMU, I ended up becoming a single mom. And then, like I said, after found out that my dad passed away, I took out student loans to bury him, and then found out that he just ruined our credit and was, selling our credit for drugs and money. And so through that, I just assumed like, okay, I can never be in corporate America, being considered a ward of the state, a little hood at times, but through financial services. And actually, it was our heritage company, BB&T. I remember interviewing in 2007, and I was just so distraught. The only person from FAMU, it was 12 students that went to a HBCU out of 300 students at the time competing for the same position. And I remember just feeling so defeated. And it was somebody at our heritage organization that said, look, it's not about where you came from or who you think you are, but we also have clients and customers that need you, where you can provide a different perspective of what it means to be in financial services. And so those words always stuck with me. Although I chose a different company, I knew that I wanted to come back and just say thank you to Heritage BB&T, which is now Truist. And so I definitely do have an opportunity to just pay it forward and really can be myself and know that myself is accepted within my role here at Truist.
Wow, Lachey, that is awesome. You make me proud just listening to your story. So let me thank you for being one of our panelists. I will ask you, if you want, you can leave your video on as we introduce the rest of our panelists. But Lachey, thanks for being one of our panelists, and we look forward to getting into some of our Q&A for the panel. All right, so next up we have Hassani McHoney, who's Senior Vice President, Head of Risk, Finance, and ESG Data Analytics Office. So Hassani, if you're ready.
Yes, I am, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Unlike our first two speakers, I have come through the Heritage SunTrust channel. So I have been working for SunTrust since 2010. Got my start in the banking world through JP Morgan Chase, working for their credit card services. Spent some time with Wholesale as well in Charlotte, North Carolina. They got acquired by Wells Fargo, so came through that transaction. And then my wife, who's the love of my life, who we've been married to for 15 years now, who I met at Clark Atlanta while getting out my MBA. She's from Georgia, and we were sitting there in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's like, you know what, this is not it. I need to be back around my folks, and I don't see enough of us that are doing well here in Charlotte, so I need to be back home in Georgia. So needless to say, I transitioned, started looking for connections, and got back to Atlanta through SunTrust Bank. So my current role is Head of Risk, Finance, and ESG Data Analytics Office. That's a mouthful. So first and foremost, let me back up and give you a little bit about me. I'm originally from Trinidad, small Caribbean island. Got my opportunity to go to Morehouse, where I got some scholarships, and from Morehouse, went to Virginia Tech, started doing a PhD program in statistics. While I was there, I was working at a statistical consulting center, and what I realized then was, hey, the nerdy side of me loves the numbers and everything else, but the people side of me actually preferred to work with people and preferred to work and help people along. So kind of decided at that point, you know what, maybe this PhD thing is not the path I want to go down. And so came back to Atlanta and got my MBA from Clark Atlanta, where, like I said, I met the love of my life. So now, I came to Truist in 2010, and I think Tawan said he's worked, probably held as many as 14 roles in his 14 years. I think the same thing is true of me. I started off in credit space. I've worked some in IT. There's a lot of different things I've done throughout the 13 years that I've been here at SunTrust/Truist. My current role, though, I only landed 2 months ago. One of the things I really love about Truist is the opportunities that present itself. So a year ago, someone reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I have a really great opportunity for you. I've been watching your career from afar. I really like what you're bringing to the table. I would love for you to come join this team and do this thing. And I'm like, I know what? Let's set up some time and let's talk. And so we set up, we talked, was interested in the role, interviewed for the role, got the role. Perfect. A year later, that lady is getting promoted to the Chief Data Risk Officer for Truist. And she is now looking for someone to backfill her position. And I am the newest member of her team. And yet here she is reaching out to me and saying, hey, listen, Hassani, I have this thing that I'm working on, and it seems to be going well, and I think I'm gonna get this role. I need to name a successor, and I'm gonna name you as the successor. I was blown away. I've only been in this position for a year, yet out of all her direct reports, she found something in me to put me there. Now, the reason I say that is that's one of the things I love about Truist, is that she could have gone and said, you know what, I'm going to go and recruit externally, and I could have gone and done all of these things. But Tawan said the same thing. People here tend to look internally. They tend to want to bring you up. Your network is so valuable to you. She was looking at me from afar years ago and brought me onto her team last year. It's one of the reasons that I love Truist. I've had so many opportunities to grow, so many opportunities to learn. And so that's one of the major reasons that I think I'm a Truist employee for life, right? So what do I do? As head of risk finance and ESG data analytics office, what it is that I support our corporate functions. So if you're in finance, if you're in credit risk or market risk or one of our other risk corporate functions, if you're in our newly formed environmental, social, and governance team, you need data and you need analytics. And I am the person you turn to help support that need for data analytics. So I am a BS in mathematics with some statistical work as my background. However, I have the finance from the MBA as well. And so that has landed me opportunities to kind of go across the board. I've worked in credit risk, like I said. I was a release manager for some data warehousing. I've done some development and some coding. I've also, led regulatory reporting aspects. So there's a lot of things that have been, afforded me through my education and through this, what I would say is this, that my first role out of college, I am coming from, just finished coming out of Virginia Tech, getting an opportunity here. And I'm in Virginia Tech, I'm looking for an internship, and this person looked at me and said, oh my God, I can't believe I am hiring a Morehouse grad. Completely overlooked Virginia Tech, completely overlooked that and said, you know what, I am hiring a Morehouse grad. So I know a lot of you, here's what I'll say, I think the brands that the HBCUs represent opens doors. That's one of the things I have always understood, that these brands open doors. The networking opportunities to network with other HBCUs is something that I will never take for granted and something I will always suggest you guys do. Find some other HBCU grads, network with them. When I first got here at Morehouse, there was a group of about 5 or 6 Morehouse grads who were more senior than me. They took me under their wing. We used to meet on a monthly basis. Those are things that are absolutely critical to your success. So anyway, I'd like to say I'm really excited to be here and look forward to the rest of our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassani. So Hassani, if you'd like to hang on for our panel discussion, you can go ahead and leave your video up. So next, let me introduce Brian Morgan, who's Managing Director, Truist Securities Head of FX Payments Delivery, and also an HBCU graduate from Howard University, the other HU.
Brian. The other HU, that's it. The other HU. So thanks for the time. What great intros by everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about my world at Truist Bank and Truist Securities. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about what I do now, and then I'll talk about how I got here. I'm currently the managing director and head of the foreign exchange group for Truist Securities. So Truist Securities is the investment bank for Truist, located in Charlotte, in Atlanta, and New York mainly, but offices all over the country. So while many would think that Truist is really just a Southeast bank, our investment bank is national. It is all over, and our clients are global. What do I do as the head of foreign exchange? Well, I work with clients. My team that I lead, we work with corporate, commercial, wealth, commercial real estate, various types of clients, and helping them manage their cross-border business. So if a client needs to move euros, needs to move Japanese yen, needs to move Chinese renminbi, any major currency, that goes through our group. And the one thing I take a lot of pride in is there's not a lot of colleagues that look like me across the industry. So it's very rare, but we're seeing more and more, but I do take a lot of pride in the fact that in the investment bank, especially in currency trading, I just don't see a lot. And so we're trying to, through this and through all of our recruiting efforts, bring in more and more HBCU talent that looks like us, that can come in and learn the business and compete in the very global, international, fast-moving world of investment banking. How did I get here? Well, I graduated from Howard. I would tell you that graduating, I was actually a marketing undergrad. Really, I was really focused on more advertising sales type jobs coming out of school. I did live in New York, but didn't find any fulfillment. And I was always good at numbers. And so I found an opportunity with a trading desk in New York in the late 90s. So I've been doing this for a while. I won't tell you how long ago I graduated from Howard. And so through that, I worked for a time period also at Wachovia, which then became Wells Fargo. Before that, I was with a small foreign exchange firm called Roosh International. And I've been with Truist for about 15 years. I was with Heritage SunTrust prior, and then obviously the merger closed last year. So I would tell you that I take a lot of pride in our work. I would say that I take a lot of pride in looking for opportunities to increase the diversity in the investment bank, because typically the investment bank is one area that has less diversity than other parts of banks. And so we really do have a focus at Truist to increase the diversity. I am on the DEI Council for the investment bank, and also for the DEI Council one level above that too. And so that's really a big focus, is recruiting. And so just looking forward to talking about opportunities, because they are out there. I just think we just want to make sure you know about them so that you can apply for them and compete in this world, because the opportunities are out there and they're at Truist. So thanks for the time, and we could talk more about other opportunities within my world. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you being a part of our panel. So let me next introduce Court Asante, who is Assistant Vice President, Innovation Strategy Analyst. So Court, if you're ready.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Hey, everybody. I apologize. I did not go to an HBCU school. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, UNC Charlotte, North Carolina. But I definitely love being a part of these. I definitely love helping people find where they need to be. One of my things that I hate is wasted potential. And I feel like everyone has potential to do whatever they want to do. So I always love coming to these recruiting events to help people find where they need to find, because I was lucky enough to have a manager who helped me find where I needed to be. And because in all honesty, I never planned on going to college. After high school, I kind of was just gonna wing it. But I ended up going to college just because I wanted to hang out with my friends, because all my friends were going to college. And I used to come to campus all the time and sit with them. And eventually they were like, why don't you just sign up? And I was like, I guess. But it was one of the best decisions of my life. I actually ended up signing up as a theater major because I just wanted to do something. But to go back, I was born in New Jersey. My parents are from Africa. They're from Ghana. I lived there for 2 years, moved to North Carolina. Now I'm here. I ended up switching my theater major when I went to UNC Charlotte to engineering, and then quickly realized that I sucked at math. I was horrible at math, god awful at math. And so I jumped from major to major, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I ended up going to be a criminal justice, but I ended up doing one coding class. I did C++, and I actually was like, I actually like this. So I went to my advisor, and I was like, hey, I like the coding part, but I don't like the math part. So they're like, why don't you try going to computer science? So I went to computer science, and I was a developer. And then I took a Java class and realized I didn't like developing as much as I did. So I asked my advisor again, I'm like, hey, I don't like coding as much as I did. So what can I do after this? I like a little bit of coding, but not a lot, but I still want to make some money in this field. And they offered me cybersecurity. So that's how I ended up at cybersecurity. But after graduating, I got a job. My background is in IT and project management. And I graduated going into a project management role, which I ended up not liking. I know there's a lot of things I ended up not liking. I was just bouncing around. So after that, I did not know what I wanted to do in a corporate setting. So I was offered a position at Truist as a leadership development program for TIP. And they told me I got to rotate through 3 different jobs, and whichever job I like, I get to stay at that. So I was like, at that point, if I rotated to 3 different jobs and still couldn't find what I wanted to do, then I was like, I don't need to be in corporate then. So my rotations involved solution architect, a cybersecurity consultant, and my very last one that I actually ended up really liking a lot was innovation strategy analyst, which a lot of people are like, what does that mean? So my team is responsible for researching new technology that we can help bring to Truist. And when I say new technology, we're all familiar with like blockchain, AI, quantum computing. When a company brings all those kinds of technologies to their business, there's a lot of risks, there's a lot of questions on how to use these things. So my team is responsible of answering all those questions. What is the risk? What is the responsibilities? Why should we do this? So I write a lot of research papers. I write a lot of ideas. I recently just wrote a research paper about VR and AR and how that can help us in financial situations. And then we submit it to the higher ups to see what they like and what they don't like and how we can work with our teams to help implement it in different use case scenarios like in data, HR, and many different parts of the banks. So that's how I ended up at Truist. So the reason why I like this job so much is because 1, it's innovative, and 2, I knew one thing from the beginning is that I love technology and I love helping people. A big part of my job too is also helping the community be more innovative. So we help a lot of schools and help them think outside the box of like hackathons, teaching them something new, like how can we get AI training to people outside of Truist? Because AI is growing. How can we get them the tools to be where they need to be in life? I'm not that smart, but I love helping people get smarter. So how can we help people outside the bank get ready for the tools they need to transfer to a corporate settings? So that's where I find my passion, is helping people find their passion. And that's what my manager did when I took in this role. So if you have any questions more about my role or what I do, just always feel free to ask, and I'll drop my LinkedIn in the chat.
Hey, thanks, Court. So to our panelists, if you all want to bring your cameras back up, I'm going to ask you all to answer one question, because it looks like all of the other questions throughout the introductions actually got answered. But there's one that we didn't get into that I'd like to quickly have each of you answer before we go to the next portion of the evening. So, and that question is, what advice do you have for someone looking for a career at Truist? So let's circle back to Lachey. What advice do you have for someone looking for a career at Truist?
For someone that is looking for careers at Truist, the advice that I have, make sure you understand what your passion is and connect it to your purpose here at Truist. I've never seen a company that has been invested in me as an individual, most importantly, my personal development as well. So I definitely have an opportunity to connect both together. So if you're able to connect your passion to a purpose here at Truist, I think you have a great opportunity here.
Awesome. Hassani.
Sure. So I think that if for me, one of the things that helps me is like I said, the networking part of it, right? So if you can find someone in an area that you would like to work in, try to connect with that person. I think that certainly brings a certain amount of information that you can gather about the role, whether or not you think you can be something, you'd want to even be in that role. Part of my journey has always been trying to figure out where I want to be and where I want to end up, right? And so there's always a learning curve that you have to go through, and talking to other individuals who have that role or who've been in that role, I think can shed some light as to whether or not that's the path you want to go down.
Awesome. And Brian, what advice would you offer to someone looking for a career at Truist?
I would say never be afraid to just ask to have a conversation with anybody. The HBCU network is strong. And so there's always somebody in one group or another that you can always reach out to. And I would tell you, I'm more than happy anytime anybody ever says, can I just have a cup of coffee, or can I just meet with you for like 15 minutes and just tell me what your business is, tell me what you do. And that's the best way to learn, because there's a difference between the academic piece that you get in school versus kind of the real world piece that you get when you start working. And you may be in one group, but don't pigeonhole yourself into that group. Think about your career holistically on what do you like to do? What areas do you find interesting? And if you're in one area that maybe is not as interesting to you, don't feel like, I'm stuck in this one spot. Look for somebody that you can really latch onto or just talk to about that area, find out that area of the bank, maybe commercial banking or commercial real estate is interesting. Have that conversation and you start to build your portfolio and understand, okay, this is where I want to take my next step. So that's kind of how I would think about it, but it really can start off informal. And that's the best way to really manage your career, because it's your career. And so you've got to kind of take it, once you get in the door, that's half the battle. And then from there, it's what you make it.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. And last but not least, Court, any advice you would have for someone looking at careers at Truist?
I feel like everyone said it perfectly. I'll just be repeating what everyone said. Is find your passion. And I would say the biggest one too is also, even though you're going through the interview process with Truist, it's not just us interviewing you, it's also you interviewing us. But just making sure that the purpose that we have aligns with yours too, because you don't want to get stuck doing something that you don't believe in. So whatever your passion is, make sure it just aligns with how we can help you grow. Because one thing my manager taught me that was really important is, if you don't always ask yourself or the company you're interviewing with where they see you in 5 years, and if they can't answer that question, that's really important, because that shows growth and that shows they have a direction for you. And that's the primary thing when it comes to a career, is what direction you're going to and where you want to go. So just like everyone said, is how your passion aligns with us and how our purpose aligns with you. And it's always important to always make sure you know where you want to go and where you see yourself, because if what you're doing now is not aligning with what you want to do 5, 10, 15 years in the future, then you're just wasting your time. So always make sure what you're doing now is where you want to see yourself in the future, or it's pushing you towards the future.
Excellent. So Court, Brian, Hassani, Lachey, let me thank you all for being panelists. But I will ask you all to come back after we talk about career opportunities at Truist and we start the live Q&A to close out the event. So thank you all. All right, so next up, speaking of careers, let's talk about career opportunities at Truist. I'm going to introduce you to 3 team members who are going to talk about those opportunities after introducing themselves briefly. So first up, we have Alana Barber, who's a university recruiter. So Alana, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Alana Barber. I'm on the university recruiting team, and I specifically support our audit and wealth early talent programs. I am a very proud graduate of the illustrious Bethune-Cookman University. Hail Wildcats. I know we have some Rattlers on the line. And I have a degree in hospitality management. The majority of my professional career has been in human resources and hospitality. I never imagined myself working for a bank, but life has a funny way of guiding you to exactly where you need to be. And I joined Truist December of 2022. Recruiting was always my favorite function of HR. I, of course, have a very special place in my heart for HBCUs and our students. And so university recruiting just made sense. I love what I do. I am absolutely walking in my passion, my purpose, and I'm really excited to be here with you all this evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Alana, thanks for being here. Okay, so next up, let me introduce Carice Hunt, who's Vice President, Senior Talent Acquisition Diversity Sourcer. So Carice, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everyone. It is so good to be here. I am greeting you from the Northeast. I am based here in New Jersey. I work remotely for Truist. However, I want to shout out, I'm not sure I saw anyone in the chat, but I am a proud graduate of the small but mighty Virginia Union University, Panther Pride all day. And I have the great opportunity. I only been with Truist for a year. However, I have over 20 years of human resources and talent acquisition experience. Most of my experience has been in the mortgage industry and that part of finance. But I can truly say, being here at Truist, I have met my passion, my purpose. My colleague spoke to it earlier, where I am truly seen here. And DEI is my passion. I did not know it at the time when I first came out of union, but I was doing it even then. And now it's just come full circle. So I am so happy to be here. I'm excited to share with you all just some amazing opportunities. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Carice. Next up, let me introduce Katina Miller, Vice President, Talent Acquisition, Senior Recruiter. So Katina, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. And I can't echo enough behind everyone else about how excited I am to be here and participate in this event. I am greeting you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been with Truist a little over 1 year and absolutely love working for this company. As many individuals have said before, and the panelists, I enjoy the culture, the collaboration, the people, working with my peers, and especially the leadership support. Tawan, Hassani, and Lachey said it the best with regards to getting that support, having that foster and bringing you into your reality of the position that you could ultimately be here in with the organization. So my role as a senior TA recruiter, I mainly focus in technology. So I actually support the enterprise technology area of Truist, and that is data and governance, technology operations, cybersecurity, delivery and innovation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the different lines of businesses. But my background, I have about 20 plus years of recruiting, very similar to Brian. Actually started in marketing and I lived in New York, and that really wasn't fulfilling my need. Moved down to Charlotte, continue to work in marketing, but I knew my passion was to work for people and work with people. So I got into HR, and then I started doing recruiting and was absolutely fulfilled. I always worked for financial institutions, started with First Union, and through acquisitions, worked through Wachovia and then Wells Fargo, and then got tapped on the shoulder about an opportunity at Truist, and it was the best decision and the best move that I made. So super happy to be here. Can't say that I graduated from HBCU, but I do have two sons, one who is at USSU, Rams, so go Rams, and I have another one who just graduated from North Carolina A&T, go Aggies. So you can imagine what my household was like while they were both living there. Super proud and definitely supportive of all historical Black colleges. And again, have a passion for doing this and very excited to be here, and I appreciate having this opportunity to share my background.
Thank you, Katina. And to all of our candidates, I know we have some non-HBCU students and grads in here as well, so everyone is welcome. But we really appreciate Truist putting together such a great team of panelists. So with that, let's go ahead to the next slide. I'll reintroduce Alana to speak to Learn as You Grow.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So Truist is a fairly new company, as you all know. We're about 3.5, almost 4 years old. And when you look at our competitors, they've been in the financial services game for a while. This presents a really exciting opportunity. We're looking for innovators. We are looking for young, bright minds to come in and challenge our processes as we look to adapt to advances in technology, the economy, and trying to race to catch up and keep up with our competitors. And a way Truist does that is through our early talent programs. So as we look at this slide, there are 7 programs that fall under the university recruiting umbrella. The ones in the kind of greenish gray color, those are our line of business programs. Those programs are embedded within the business, led by program managers, my apologies. And those program managers really have the autonomy to create their own curriculum and really cultivate a different experience. In the purple are our leadership development programs. The leadership development is the overhead program, and those are the 3 separate tracks. Although they support different functions of the business, they work in tandem together. Their curriculum is a similar style. They have very similar interview processes, and they are constantly, doing events and professional development sessions with each other. All of our programs have a leadership development aspect, so please do not let that deter you. It's literally just the name. All of our programs have an internship and a full-time opportunity that we like to pipeline into. Our internships are 9 weeks long, and they all begin in June. The length for our full-time programs, they really vary. The shortest is 10 months and the longest is 18 to 24 months. And those all begin in July. After the full-time program, as long as you show up and you show out, you will have an opportunity to move into a full-time role within Truist. So a really great opportunity to just go ahead and secure that job as soon as you graduate. We are a bank, so of course we are looking for finance and accounting majors, but again, our programs touch every aspect of the bank. So if you are marketing, human resources, communications, especially technology, data analytics, data science, I always tell students 8 times out of 10, we can find a place for you at Truist Bank. So do not let, just because we're a bank and you may have a major that's not finance or business administration, please do not let that deter you from applying either. Right now, our leadership development programs, those requisitions are currently open for you all to apply to. Our wealth and audit programs, those will open on Friday. And our investment banking and commercial real estate are set to open within the next few weeks. I will go ahead and put a link in the chat to where you can read descriptions on each of our programs. And then you can go ahead and apply if you want to. It's a direct link to apply. If you have questions about any of our programs, maybe you're not sure where exactly you fit in, I will also drop a link to my LinkedIn and my email address. Feel free to reach out. We can sit and chat about your interests and your passions and see where exactly we can get you in. Our internships are open for graduates of, hold on, I always got to think when I do this, May 2025, and our full-time roles are open for May 2024 or December 2023 graduates. So I'll go ahead and put all of that in the chat as well. Something that I really wanted to preface, please, 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 this is prime time. If you all are currently in school, I know it feels a little weird applying for roles in August, September for roles that don't start until 2024. This is it. The fall is the busiest season. You all need to be applying. If you have career services, if companies are coming on your campus and doing resume revamps, please take advantage of it. I see this a lot, especially with our HBCU students. I could read between the lines and I can see that you all have great experience, but it doesn't necessarily translate on your resume. You have 7 seconds to get a recruiter's attention when they're looking at your resume. So please take advantage of those resume revamps and those mock interviews that are typically scheduled as on-campus events. When you're connecting with recruiters, please make a connection. It's not enough to come up and say, hi, my name is John Doe. I'm interested in Truist. I hear that all day, every day at career fairs, right? Research that person, look at their LinkedIn, see if there's a connection that you can make. Start a conversation, talk about your passions and your interests, and make it memorable. Because if you make a good impression on me, if you're interested in tech, after that career fair, I'm immediately going to pick up the phone and call our tech recruiter, Lexi, and I'm going to say, Lexi, I need you to hire Darren today. Please expedite that process. So make sure you all are really making an effort to connect with recruiters.
Awesome.
And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat.
Awesome insight, Alana. Thank you for that. And so with that, let's go ahead into the next section. Back to Carice and Katina. Discover your next career.
So now that you've, thank you so much, Alana and Will. And now that you've heard about some of the opportunities within our early careers, and you've heard some of the lines of business, we wanted to break that down because that is a question a lot of times. You hear bank, and a lot of times people just have one way of thinking of banking and what they offer. So we have our audit, risk, legal, and finance division, which in our audit team, they really determine, and we want you to understand what these different divisions do. So they determine compliance with policies and procedures. They assess the controls and systems and place to ensure the reliability and the integrity of the institution and that information, safeguarding those assets. With our branch banking, that's our small business banking. They provide business loans, credit, savings accounts, checking accounts, and specifically designed for either companies and or individuals. Then we have our contact center, and with our contact center, they've recently been named, Truist Care Centers. I apologize. That's another symbol of how we've been committed to delivering on our purpose and our vision and inspiring and building better lives within our communities. Then we move down to our corporate and institutional banking and commercial banking. And with them, that's where the CFO team brings a more in-depth business knowledge, as well as, giving financial analysis that provides our line of business managers with the objective information necessary to make business decisions. In our commercial real estate and the community commercial bank and investment banking, that's where you'll see a lot of that. The forecasting process is inclusive of those things. Then we have human resources. Of course, that's my baby where I reside. And our human resources line of business, though, is so broad, and it focuses not just in talent acquisition or in where I sit and where some of my colleagues sit, but also in our diversity and equity space, our benefits, our total rewards and payroll, career development, policies and procedures, those employee engagement. All of that is where you would find in our human resources group. I'm going to allow my colleague Katina to share more on our other lines of business. Katina, you're on mute.
I sure am. Thank you, Carice, because I was going on and didn't catch that. But yes, as Carice was sharing lines of businesses for the organization, we actually have a multitude. So going on to insurance, actually Truist Insurance Holdings is the 5th largest insurance broker in the US with strong heritage dating back over 100 years. So we really have a strong legacy in that area. And they operate on a portfolio leading in risk and insurance. A lot of the businesses across the retail, hotel, and wholesale, and title insurance. For marketing, communication, and digital, they provide our effective branding. So everything that you see from a Truist standpoint, whether it is a signage or something that you would view on, a bank or branch, to even a brochure, to what you see if you were to open an account online, that's all part of marketing and branding, and it's engaging the perception of management toward our various stakeholders and communities. Mortgage, consumer lending, and payment solutions. So our mortgage team prides themselves on making every Truist homeownership a reality. They handle mortgage sales, loan originations, fulfillment, closing, warehouse lending services, underwriting, fraud, risk. Our consumer lending, they handle everything from auto lending, consumer credit cards, and other lines of credit. Then we have technology, which is a huge sector. We have a lot of people, when they think of a financial institution, they don't think of technology and working in the tech space for a banking institution, but there's a large spectrum of technology facets within Truist, and it encompasses a broad area from information security to data analysis, governance, technology operation, automation, digital design. A lot of the positions that we fill are ones like software engineer, infrastructure engineer, graphic designers, architects, data analysts, technology project managers, analysts, cybersecurity engineers, tech support, as well as the manager and directors. And then we also have our wealth brokerage and premier banking space, where they provide accounting and financial support to respective lines of businesses and evaluate to maintain a strong, effective controllership to safeguard our Truist assets. So that kind of gives you an overview of all the lines of businesses. And a lot of people don't think, working for a financial institution, those are all the different sectors that you can work in. And I think, like Will mentioned earlier, we have a number of active open positions. And to give you just an idea, for example, in our audit space, we have an audit analyst position that we're currently looking to fill. In our branch space, we have kind of a relationship manager that we're looking to fill. And in technology, we have some data analyst 1 and level 2s that we're looking to fill. And these are relatively junior to mid-level positions. A lot of our roles will sit on the East Coast as well as Midwest, but we do have some on the West Coast as well. And we have an active site where you can actually go out there and apply to these positions, which I know we'll cover just before we wrap up this event at a later time. But just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the lines of businesses, as well as the different openings that we have available. And with that, I think I'm turning it back over to you, Will, for Q&A.
That's correct. Thank you, Katina. And thank you, Alana. So appreciate it. All right, so we're going to jump into a live Q&A. I want to get right into it. So I'll moderate the Q&A. So to our candidates, if you have questions that have not been answered yet in the chat, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. And then I'll do my best to pose those questions to the Truist team. So to our Truist team members, panelists, and those that went over the career options at Truist, you all can go ahead and turn your video on, and I'll take my slides down, and we'll get into some live Q&A with our candidates. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat, and then I'll ask those questions to our Truist team. If you know who you want to direct the question to, please put their name in your question. All right, so one of the first questions that I saw that looks like had not been answered yet was around someone that may have experience. So I'm going to direct this one to Alana. So someone that may have graduated 2 to 3 years ago, can they still apply for the leadership development programs at Truist?
Yep, absolutely. So while our programs are geared for graduating seniors, we do accept students who graduated who are 1 to 2, probably 3 max years removed from college.
Excellent. So next question I see, and this is from Chelsea. Okay, so are there any internships available in cybersecurity at Truist?
Yep, so we do have our leadership development program. We have a technology and innovation track. That would be the best program if you're interested in cybersecurity.
Awesome, thanks, Alana. So we're getting a lot of questions related to the types of opportunities available. So what I'm going to drop in the chat is the links to where you can see all of the different opportunities as well. But if you have questions for all of our panelists, feel free to drop those in the chat. And what I'm going to do on the back end here is I'm going to pull up the list of questions that we have for our panelists, because I think there was one more that I didn't have a chance to ask. So the question is, and I'm going to circle back to our panelists earlier, and anyone else that might want to interject on this and provide an answer to this question. What has been the most exciting or rewarding part of your career? So I'm going to jump back to Lachey.
Two things. One, I love my career so much. I've been a mystery shopper for banks, still am. But then also, I was even able to be the founder of a nonprofit called 8 Cents in a Jar for Truist supports. So I think that's the proudest moment where I can work in the community, volunteer in the community, and my employer also helps me do just that. So that's monumental. Second, definitely going back to my talent acquisition days and then just helping people with possibilities that they did not think exist. So helping them find careers, calling them and saying, yes, you got the job. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna do a third one. So also just being in DEI. So I think a lot of us said that we have a passion for that, but then just making sure that we have the resources here at Truist and looking back to say I was a part of that project, or we helped bring on that school, we helped bring on that HBCU to our network. So I gave you 3.
Thanks, Lachey. So I do see a good question here in the chat from Kev Way. She has a bachelor's degree in neuroscience. So I'm going to direct this one to you, Hassani.
Because I figured that was coming my way, by the way. And I did see it in the chat as well. I was about to respond, so I'm glad you asked that question.
Awesome.
There are a couple of things. So first and foremost, yes, there is a bit of a learning curve when you're branching from a financial degree into finance. I helped bridge that by going to MBA school, but I will say even after coming out of MBA school, there was still a lot to learn. I think the things you want to understand is find a role. So for example, neuroscience, I have someone who's on my team is a PhD in physics, right? Is on my team. How did he end up here? We look for qualities and we look for willingness to learn, more so than what is your degree in. And so, for example, neuroscience, that is a difficult, very difficult undergraduate study. So the things you want to highlight is your ability to think, your ability to learn, your analytical abilities, because those are the things that help you to get through neuroscience, right? I see that you are getting your MBA in analytics as well. So we've gone through the same path. I think there are roles that will speak to you that won't speak to others. So for example, because I did math and statistics and then did the MBA in finance, credit risk analysis loved me. There are going to be areas within the bank that just naturally love what you bring to the table because you're not just finance. You spoke earlier about the broad set of opportunities and roles that exist within Truist. And I'll be honest with you, if I were to recommend a program for you, it would be our Data Science Accelerator program. And so I think that is a wonderful program for someone with your background. Alana, I'll toss it over to you because I think you'll be able to, talk a little bit more about that program specifically. Just before I leave, I had 3 interns this year come through my department. 2 of them have moved on to that Data Science Accelerator program. So it's a program that we really do recommend. I would recommend for anyone trying to get into data analytics and data science.
So the Data Science Accelerator is currently on pause right now. So if we have additional information, that will be updated on our website, but as of right now, it's not an open opportunity.
Appreciate the insight. So thanks for that, Hassani. So I see a lot of questions starting to roll in. So to the Truist team, I'm going to try to get everyone involved in the conversation. So let's try to kind of do rapid fire because we only got about 10 to 15 minutes left. So let's rapid fire through some of these Q&A. So this next question is related to work-life balance from Jordan Davis. So I'm going to direct this question to Tawan because I see Tawan still with us. How would you describe work-life balance at Truist?
I'll tell you, I'll start with success looks very differently as life begins to change. I think if one blessing from COVID was the prioritization of what's important to me in my life, my family became that much more important. And so mine is really good. Having flexibility, again, back to performing. When you perform, you get to kind of, I don't want to say create your own rules, but have the flexibility you seek for in your life. So for me, it's been phenomenal. But there are different seasons. This week, as an example, has been exhausting. But I'm going to catch a flight at 9 p.m. on Thursday to go to Charlotte to spend some time with family and friends and be able to do some of the things I really enjoy outside of work. So you got to make it really important. It has to be really important to you to prioritize your work-life balance. But as an organization, we do a lot of really cool things around our benefits. Like we actually get our birthday off. You get an actual extra vacation day for your birthday, which is really cool. Now you can choose to take it anytime you like, but the organization does a lot of things to ensure you get great work-life balance and also keeping a very strong mental health as well. A lot of benefits for us as employees around our mental health, which is also very much needed.
Thanks, Tawan. So I see another question here that came in through a direct message from Nicole Wilson, MBA. And I'm going to pose this one to Brian. So Brian, if you could turn back the hands of time and speak to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself either prior to landing your job at Truist or maybe 90 days into the job at Truist?
I would say the biggest advice I'd probably give myself is actually look around, lift your head up and look around. Because the one thing I always thought early on was just do your job, do it really well, and you'll do well in your career. But sometimes it's more than that. And sometimes it is taking a kind of a view of your entire environment and seeing where future opportunities may lie for you. So you can focus on doing your current job, your current role. It may be entirely rewarding. It may be the opportunity where you say, you know, this is what I want to do for the rest of my career. But at the same time, take advantage of a bank, especially a bank like Truist. It's a universal bank. It has so many lines of business in so many areas that I can't even count. I mean, I've heard about stuff on this call that I had forgotten that we do, and all the things that we focus on. So I would say take advantage of a big bank like Truist. If you worked here, and earlier in my career, I worked at a bigger bank, big banks, and just look around and look at other areas where you can really reach out and have some conversation. And that way you get a universal view of how the bank really works, because it takes various lines of business to make the entire institution be successful. And unless you really know how other roles impact your role, you really can't truly be successful long-term in your career.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian, for that insight. I'm sitting here reviewing some of the great questions that I see in the chat. So this next one is from Joshua LeBrun. So if you think about a recent hire you enjoyed working with, what are some of their characteristics that come to mind? So I'm going to leave this open-ended for someone on the team that maybe worked with a recent hire that had a great experience, for you all to volunteer to maybe share what characteristics stood out about that recent hire. And that was a great question, Joshua.
So I can take this one. We actually just went through our intern conversion process. So kind of assess the interns that we had and which ones that we would like to make offers for our full-time programs. And a word that is constantly mentioned in those meetings is curiosity. Ask questions. Working at a bank, again, it's not just, there's so many different aspects. There are so many rules and regulations and processes and procedures. So do not be afraid to speak up and ask questions. And it's been mentioned, and you'll probably hear it 1,000 times in your collegiate career, but network. So do not, in that little space, in that little bubble that you're in, you need to break out of that. Set up coffee chats, connect with people who, even if you may not be interested in the role, connect with them to learn more. You might resonate with a task or a function that they do. So those are, I would say those are two big things that we look for.
Thanks, Alana. So this next question I see is from Chioma in the chat. I'm going to pose this one to Carice. So how did Truist help you to fully integrate into the company with regards to onboarding or mentorship or other opportunities once you join the company?
I can say for me, especially because I'm remote and my team and my management is based in Charlotte. And that was a slight concern that I did have initially, but I can say that it went away very quickly because of the management team that I have, and the team really integrated me quickly with not just, you hear like online modules and things like that, but I was brought down to the corporate location. I was actually able to come down and have a mentor, actually more than one mentor. I have 2 mentors, and they really took me under their wing and answered all of my questions. And I was proactive in reaching out to people that weren't my mentors also, but they were so receptive. So that really helped me integrate quickly, learning systems, learning the culture that aligned with my purpose. So for me, as a new hire, sometimes people forget that I've only been here a little over a year. They're like, I thought you were here so much longer. And that's because how quickly I was welcomed in and was able to learn.
Thanks, Carice. So Katina, can you refresh us on how long you've been at the company and how you got your foot in the door at Truist?
Sure, and like Carice, I've only been here a little over a year myself, although I've been in the industry for a while. But how I got my foot in the door, there was a prior colleague that I worked with from another institution, and she was just telling me all the great things about Truist, just how your voice is actually heard, how you're really a contributor, how you get the support from your leadership, and how they really want to foster into you what your passion is so that you can grow. And it may not even be on their team, but that's what's so great about the organization. If you find that your path or interest is in another area, they're going to foster that and give you the resources to get there. And that just really kind of spoke volumes to me and the culture. I mean, we pride ourselves in being a family and organization, and I didn't necessarily get that where I came from. So that was something that really pressed upon when I joined the organization.
So that question that I asked was directed to sort of answer a question I saw in the chat from Keone Banks, related to the opportunity for someone who may have been out of school for more than 3 years. Are there opportunities still available to you? So for sure, this is an opportunity for you to learn more about Truist, to meet the team, to understand the culture, so that you have a better idea when you see opportunities from the links that we're posting in the chat. There are definitely opportunities for more than just the entry-level folks that are either in college or they just graduated. So if you've been out for more than 3 years, definitely check out the links that we've been posting in the chat that we'll continue to post for some of the full-time opportunities at Truist. So I saw another question related to how can folks get in touch with the panelists. So I'm assuming it's all right for folks to reach out via LinkedIn. I'm pretty confident that most of the folks on the panel have a LinkedIn profile. You see their names right there. And the fact that they work at Truist, so that's probably the easiest way to find folks, to reach out and introduce yourself that way. All right, so let me do a quick check on time. We've got about 4 minutes left. I'm going to try to get a couple of quick questions in quickly. So Court, I'm gonna get you involved in the conversation, and I see a question from Raphael. And so if you had the power to change anything for the better at Truist, or anything that you might change about the company or your role, what would that be? I know that's maybe a hard question.
Yeah, that's a hard question. If I had the power to change anything,
That's the stuff.
can I circle back on that? I would have to come back to that one. I have to think about that one.
No worries, no worries. Let me see if there's anything else here.
Court, that was a layup. It was add everybody on this call to Team Truist. That was a layup, my friend.
Oh yeah.
There's that experience from Tawan, but yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, so we've just got a couple of minutes left. So what I want to do, and I think this speaks to a lot of the questions that we've been getting related to the opportunities at Truist and how to take advantage of those opportunities. So I'm going to bring my slides back up and let's talk about next steps. Louisa, if you can help me by kind of copy and pasting our survey as well in the chat and the opportunities. But let me bring my slides back up.
Well, I think I can answer that question real quick now. I think I came up with something.
Go for it, go for it.
More people like us and that look like us to be in higher positions.
Awesome. Awesome. So no, I appreciate that, Court. And I also appreciate all of the panelists for sharing your insights, for sharing your time with our candidates. And to our candidates, thanks for the great questions, even the hard ones. So with that being said, let's talk about next steps. I'm going to pass it back to Carice and Katina to talk about those next steps and any last thoughts for our candidates.
So I was, now that you've heard a lot about Truist and what we have to offer, I'm checking the chat a lot too. There are multiple ways for you to connect with us, of course, LinkedIn, but also go to our careers page and you can view those positions that are open by location, by division, line of business, and click on that link. I hope you're taking a screenshot of it or jotting it down and go into the chat and make sure that you're going into that careers page and looking and viewing and ask those questions. If you have questions about certain positions, please feel free to reach out.
And Carice, one other thing that I wanted to add, in addition to going to that website, you can also set up what we call a search agent, which is cool because you can enter what type of skills you're interested in and location, and you can get a weekly, monthly, or bi-monthly notice of positions that are open with your specific criteria. So you're not having to go out to the site every day, but you can have an actual listing of positions based on what you're interested in emailed to you, depending on how often or what your frequency is that you want to receive those.
And that goes into joining our talent community, making sure that you're joining that so you can get those alerts. As Katina said, make sure you do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, just
because now is the time, as it was mentioned, this fall time, this is the time. So to do it sooner rather than later.
Exactly. Yeah. And that talent community, it actually opens a huge repository for every recruiter in the entire enterprise. So if they're doing a search based on a certain skill set, if you're not in that talent community, we're not going to see it. But if you register and they're searching by a certain interest, your name is going to be there and it'll be populated. So that's definitely another thing you want to look into.
And I am the one looking for those searches. So
yes,
I want to see those names pop up.
Awesome. So let me thank you all. So to our candidates, look in the chat. The links that are posted that you saw in the slide are also in the chat. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do two things before we close out. Please take our post-event survey and let us know how we did. All about the event, your thoughts on the event, how we can do better, what you liked about it, what, like I said, what we can do better. And then also, so if you see the link to the survey, so Louisa, if you can post that real fast to the chat, y'all can take the survey for us real quick. It should only take you 2 minutes. Then the other thing is, I love to get a screenshot. If you all want to turn on your video real fast, let's get a screenshot of your smiling faces. And that way we can remember this event for when we share the video later. So if you'd like to turn on your video, you're in a place where you can do so, please turn on your video and let's get a quick screenshot of all of our participants and smiling faces. Really appreciate you all. I like to say and remind you all that by you all coming to this event, not only are you looking out for your own future and opportunities, so I'm impressed by that and I'm appreciative of that on your behalf, but then also you are opening the doors for those that come after you by you coming to these events. And let's make these events fruitful. We want some of you all to get interviews and get hired from this event so that those behind you can follow in your footsteps and come to future events like this. So thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get a screenshot. Louisa, let me know when you're ready.
I'm taking the screenshots now.
All right, so let's give folks a chance to smile. So 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right, there we go. You got that?
Yes.
All right, cool. So, hey, let me thank you all for coming. I wish you all the best of luck. Again, please take our survey. The link is in the chat. Louisa just posted it for my team. And then also take advantage of these opportunities. Jump onto the website and apply. So I'm gonna repost those opportunity links once again. And again, I'm gonna say thank you all, and to the Truist team, we appreciate your dedication to this community. We appreciate you taking the time out, after hours to share your experiences, to share your opportunities, and to help to connect with more diverse candidates for your career opportunities. So thank you all on both sides. We appreciate you, and have a good evening. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I'm going to leave the chat up in case anybody still needs to click on those links. I'll stop the recording.